Might be a little bit farther.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have the approval of the November 5th minutes. If there's no concerns or comments, do we have a motion to approve them as submitted?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Here. Approval of the CSE CPSE recommendations?
I move those.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, we are up to public comment. Is there any public comment? Carol?
Hi.
Hi.
Do you want me to come up?
Sure. You have the sign-in sheet up there. Okay.
I submitted this per regulation that I probably will go over 3 minutes.
Okay.
So that is there. I will hand this out in 1 second. Whoops, I dropped my notes. Well, actually, that's already there. Did you have that? No. I'm going to read a little opening statement, only because I don't want to wander off. Those of you who know me know I can get really lengthy and just wander off. So I'm going to read this before I get into the gist of the matter of things that I printed out for you.
Okay.
All right. I'm here as an individual, okay? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Carol Michalski. I'm a former Board of Ed member of Walton School District. I'm currently on the Cornell Cooperative Human Ecology Committee and the CCE Board. I'm the Regional Director for New York State Women's Inc. that we petition for women's rights. I am a former adjunct instructor for 5 years at SUNY Delhi. I have and currently work with multiple school districts throughout New York State. I daily deal with superintendents, business managers, principals, athletic directors, facility directors. This has been my passion for over 25 years. With this experience, I know what you as a board can and cannot do. As a board who is elected to ensure the students have every opportunity availed to them, you have failed. You have hidden behind a quote-unquote policy that states that a sport should have been submitted last year, and we are talking about the reinstatement for winter track and field. The previous athletic director had discouraged it, stating it would not pass the board. Your first priority is to the students. You have failed the 34 plus potential student athletes. Shame on you for violating your own policy 9000 purpose of the board. And you must remember, coaching is teaching. You have to keep that in mind. I did this. You can pass this around. This is what I put together for the basis of the board for reopening the vote to reinstate winter track and field for this year. I am asking that the board act on to reinstate winter track and field for boys and girls immediately. And number two, I'm asking them to create an action for the expectation of funding for the reinstatement of winter track. I'm asking you to authorize practice to start as early as 11/20/2019. Athletes, just so you know, cannot compete until December 14th due to practice requirements. All right, cost comparisons. I went online to look at the current budget, and the only one I could find was the 2019-2020 budget line items, which you carry under 2855, and they are not broken out by sport. And I know, as being a former board member, when you do your budget, you do have those line items by sport. But for the public purview, we don't know what football costs, what volleyball costs, what field hockey costs. And believe it or not, I was able to find online 2015. The costs, I didn't put it on here, the costs are not that much different, all right? And so this is the impact. For sports officials, you have $33,000 for all your sports. Winter track impact is 0. Athletic equipment, you have $11,000 for a line item. Impact is 0. Athletic supplies, $23,000. The impact is 0. Athletic entry fees, you have combined $3,000. Winter track is between $950 to $1,075. Athletic instructional salaries, that's $115,200. For the current contract year, winter track would be $5,000 for level 1. Athletic non-instructional salaries, this would be $3,000, but you have the potential that the volunteer for an assistant winter track would volunteer. Your athletic trips are about $3,500 according to your last meeting that was stated. The total impact is $9,575 to $12,575. The board, at the last meeting, your Board of Ed, you expressed concerns over golf, which was eliminated, and bowling, which was eliminated, okay? Those people, if they wanted to have this, they would have put together their numbers. We're talking winter track, okay? The Board of Ed, you did not want to make an exception for the addition of a sport not scheduled prior. That would have been last December, okay? The track people did not have a chance to do this. They were discouraged to do this. And we're not going to get into the specifics of who discouraged them what. It doesn't make a point here, all right? Concerns of potential of special needs was brought up at the last meeting, okay? That it could drive up the cost, thus eliminating the potential for 30-plus students, athletes to work together. This was put aside. All right? A board of a member considered this an expense, and it made it seem like, if you listen to the website, that it was like buying a copy machine. Okay? There are 34 students signed up, not counting the potential of all the basketball cuts that happened. Those students have nowhere to go. All right, current winter track from other schools right now. UV has 26. They've combined with GMU. Sydney has 25. Delhi has 18, Unitigo has 15, BGA Afton has 34, Oxford has 13, and Harpersville, there was not a count available. And Walton is telling 30-some-odd plus kids that because of what you consider a technicality, that you will not institute this cost change. And I think you need to re-examine this. We're talking student athletes. And remember, these are great athletes. Spring track, you had 15, I have it back there, you had 15 students that were student athlete awards that they got. 15 out of, I think it was 30 participants. We're not talking about just anybody. We're talking about these kids that want to do something. And remember, they're student athletes. You guys are missing the boat. You're putting the dollar beforehand. I know you will issue out stipends. I was on the board, I know. Stipends come across for things. You can institute this. You do not have to hide behind a policy that you say it had to have been in last December. And I beg you, you need to redo this. Thank you.
Thank you. As you are well aware, it was the board has already voted, and it was a very difficult vote. But moving forward, we will take these into consideration, this request as well as other requests that come forward for our 2021 budget considerations. So thank you. Is there anybody else that would like public comment?
I didn't prepare anything because she just spitfired you guys. But anyways, I feel like it'd be good for a student to express his concerns as well. So with that being said, I did write something, but I decided not to say it, but not going to say it. Dear board, good evening to you all. A couple of weeks ago, as we all know, the possibility of creating an option for an indoor track team was voted down. With so many athletes signed up and committed to running this season, and although we are aware of the reasons leading to that decision, it frustrates us all that nothing is being done to appease the situation. I know that with my personal experience and with the experiences of other people, and from learning the experiences of others, that running beforehand helps. And as Coach Clerkin discussed in the last meeting, 75% of athletes that ran during indoor track went to state quals, and that's a large number. I know that for me personally, indoor track would help me for potential scholarships. For speculation, I had a 4:31 mile last in state qual meet. That's 5 seconds off of potential D1 scholarships. There are other people that are open for scholarships, some more so than me, and the indoor program would help with that. Again, there are 34 athletes, and we all really want this program. And if you guys are looking at the self-interest of the overall student body, it would ultimately be good for us. And again, that wasn't very well said, but it's what I believe, and I'll leave that with you.
Thank you. Is there any other?
Hello, my name is Morgan Condon, and me along with Isaac, we're part of a 4x4 team, and we place first in the Class D Section 4 meet. And Lucas, we place first place in the Class D Section 4 4x1 relay. And then I podium in 2 other events as well. And just in the spring, I went to represent Walton in the New York State Championships and placed 11th and broke the school record as well. And I am trying to work as well as Isaac for a potential D1 scholarship. And yeah, indoor track would help with that a lot. So if you guys could do a revote, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else?
May I ask another question? Without coming up there. I would like to know, and I'd like you guys, you may have to do it in executive session, but I do believe you have the authority to reopen that vote and to reconsider it. And I am imploring you that you need to do that, to reopen the vote. I know you voted on it, but that does not help all of these students at this time. And I think you need to do it. If you need to do it in executive session, so be it. But I do think you need to reopen and reconsider this.
Thank you. Are there any government? Did you have something? Sorry.
Talk.
This is my speech. Hi, my name is Rich Mikowski. I am a track coach, or a coach of track and field here at Walton. I started my career back in 1972 in New York State at, ironically, James I. O'Neill High School. And then from there I went to Pearl River in Rockland County, retired in 2002, came up here. Jerry Kilmer, who I believe was on board here as the AD at the time, asked me if I wanted to help out with track and field, so I got involved here. So I've been involved with track and field for a very, very long time. My athletes downstate have competed all over the country, up and down the East Coast and as far as California. So I know the sport well, and I coached for over 90 consecutive seasons of cross-country, indoor track, and outdoor track at O'Neill and Pearl River. So I know the impact of cross-country, which we don't have anymore, that was dropped in 2012, and indoor track, same thing, dropped in 2012. In the time that I coached here with John McLennan for indoor, we set 45 school records over a period of 5 years, from 2012 to 2019. As Mr. Clerkin said, no records were broken until Morgan Condon set us here. The impact of indoor on outdoor is tremendous. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. It makes a difference. The kids get inspired, they get enthusiastic, they get to see competition outside the MAC League, because in the spring we're here pretty much. We do go to other places, but in indoor, they go up to Cornell, they go to Ithaca, they go to Cortland. And if someone makes the state meet, it's down at Staten Island. So it's far-reaching. By the time the kids get done with indoor and they go to outdoor track, they're ready. Most of them. Not completely, because we have kids coming off of other sports too. But at least they have an idea they can compete. You know, they know what to expect when they go to the meets, and that means a lot. So when you get there, you're not just kind of out in left field. Oh, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I warm up and stuff? So I too am imploring you to think this over. Do the right thing. Give these kids a chance. 34 is a good number, because there were years we did not have 34. We might even get more than that. So think about it again, and if you can bring it up to vote again, I would really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Do we have any government students here today? What? Would you like to state your name?
Yeah,
And welcome. All right. We are up to discussion items. Reminder that we have a board workshop with Perry Dewey on Thursday at 5:30. And was there any interest in a NISBA retreat this school year? Keep in mind we'll be doing the superintendent search, so we might be busy with meetings on that as well. So, or would we like to just postpone it until?
Can't think of any topics
Okay.
we need.
All right. Workers' comp. I attended the workers' comp self-alliance meeting on Friday in Binghamton. This was the election of officers, so they went through the election of officers, and then we had the review of an audit. No material instances or internal control weaknesses were found. As of November 1st, 2019, out of 12 districts that participate in the alliance, there was 138 open cases, 73 had a loss of time, and 65 were medical only. And through this analysis, what I found was quite interesting is the knee-related injuries are the most common due to slips and falls, and then shoulders were second, and shoulders tend to be contact with students, you know, whether trying to help a student, you know, or special needs students, maybe lifting and stuff like that. They were shoulder injuries. So I found that quite interesting. And then along those lines, they went into a Safety Institute offering for trainings, you know, how to better pick things up, you know, what to look for as far as building and grounds, potential areas that, you know, for slipping, falls, wet floors, things like that. What we did approve, though, that evening was the risk control service. This is something that they will be able to come to every district and make. I think you might have already received that information, the risk controls. If not, I'll give you my packet, but they did approve it. And they will come into each district to do a risk assessment in an attempt to avoid future injuries. So I thought that was pretty good, and that would be free, you know, to each district. So that was workers' comp. And Paul, do you want to touch on our finance committee?
Sure. Finance committee convened last Thursday. It was Rhonda and myself and Larry and Meg, and we discussed a long-range financial plan. Basically, it came up, I think, well, before we were even around the table from the audience when Graydon was talking about it, trying to project out 5 years what the impact of the budget's going to look like with anticipated revenue, expenses increasing as a result of, inflation, cost of living, things like that, programs we're looking at, and then the revenues are tax-based, state aid, things like that. So certain things are a moving target and can't be projected with 100% accuracy, but you've got to start somewhere so you can kind of smooth what may be budgetary shocks in some of the out years. We also discussed a calendar for the budget creation process for the 2020-2021 academic year, and some of the elements that we may be looking to add to the budget in those years, whether they be capital outlays and things like that. So, but Meg did a lot of work in putting together some of these projections, and she's working to refine it as she gains more clarity around what the detail is under some of those lines, and kind of reallocating things. But it was a really good first shot at it, and it's going to get better, and it's going to be really good for the district. So thank you, Meg. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. All right, correspondence. You have it, right? Okay. We are up to presentations. We have an FFA National Conference presentation. Who's going to lead that? I seen Tammy earlier and she was pretty nervous.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Lucas Wally, followed by Bryn Backus and Cammie Edwards, and we were a part of a group of 6 students who went down to Indianapolis to go watch the National FFA Convention of 2019. We have a picture here, a little collage of all our pictures. We weren't able to print it out, but if you would like to pass that around and take a look. So it was a week-long trip, and our trip started out in Liverpool, just outside of Syracuse, 5 o'clock in the morning. We had spent the night at the hotel, and we were getting on a coach bus to travel 13 hours down to Indianapolis on a coach bus. And I'll tell you what, it was one of the longest bus rides that I had ever been on. I'm only happy that we didn't have to do it on a school bus. But we took a break to go stop in Chicago. At first, we were going by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I was like, man, go in there, get to see all those different exhibits. But right down the road from that was the Great Lakes Science Center. And at first, personally, I was like, man, to go in there and look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame would be something else, to see all those old school long-haired jammers playing on their guitars. But as soon as we walked into the Great Lakes Science Center, it was something that blew my mind, just to see all of the different kind of science stuff in there. They had big exhibits on space exploration, and many of robotics exhibits, really explaining the future of where our science is going. But not only that, but they took a step back to explain the basics of physics as well, and different sciences. And there were so many different hands-on activities. It was a really fun place to be. The only regret I have going is that I wasn't able to spend more time there to get more sense of all the different activities there. But as soon as we got back on the bus, I was like, man, now we got to sit here for another 6 to 7 hours waiting to get down to Indianapolis. But as soon as we got to Indianapolis, I have to say, out of all the places that I've been, I was surprised. Indianapolis was probably the cleanest city that I had ever been in. The streets were just nice, and everything was just so open to the public. You could walk through and not have to worry about anything. And we spent the night down in Indianapolis at the hotel. And where we got to catch up with, we went on a bus. There were 200 different kids on 4 different buses where we ate dinner at a Golden Corral there, and we got to catch up with all those 200 different kids. And following that, we ate a Golden Corral 4 more times. And at the end of the week, I was tired of eating Golden Corral. But the experience,
Jeff Foxworthy, thanks you.
at one point, it got to the point I was like, all right, this night I'm going to have chicken. This night I'm going to go over to this buffet section and then this buffet section. But just the experiences and being able to talk to all these different kids from just even in New York State was so amazing, and being able to get a look at different kids' backgrounds. And if you're amazed at how many different backgrounds there are in New York State, imagine going down to Indianapolis where there are 70,000 kids, all a part of FFA organizations across the country, to the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. That was an experience that I'll never forget. Being able to talk to some of those kids from all those different places. And the first day, we woke up ready to go. We went down to the Colts Stadium down there, Lucas Oil Stadium, and just picture yourself in there Sunday afternoon at a football game. However many thousands of screaming fans, but you walk in and you see a sea of 70,000 FFA jackets. I got tired of the color blue that day. I never wanted to see that color again.
Wow.
But it was really inspiring to see how the number of FFA members has grown over the past century, going from 30 people only attending the first ever FFA convention to now 70,000. Where it started in Kansas City, moved to Louisville, and now it's in Indianapolis just because they have so many members coming in that they can't fit them all in one stadium. It was really an inspiring moment being able to walk in there and just stand there and say, wow, look at where this organization has come. And it was just a really nice trip for me. Cami, if you'd like to take it.
After we went there, we went to Fish's Ozark. I don't know really how to say it.
Ozark Fishery.
Yeah, we got to see how they did a fish farm. They had over 50 pounds, I want to say, of the growth of different fish. They sell it all over to like a whole bunch of different
pet
places.
stores,
Yeah.
like
Fairs, all over. We went to the Old Dominion Band. We did a lot
it
of
was a
different
good
stuff.
concert.
My favorite experience from going there, not only meeting people from New York State, meeting people from Hawaii and Alaska, got their picture and I got their numbers, so I met new friends from really far away, and then I met some really new close friends from New York State, so it was really cool representing Walton School and going out there. Met a lot of new people and got to do a lot of different things. So
Nice.
As Cami said, she met people from Alaska and Hawaii. I met a couple of kids from Georgia and Florida, and they texted, we're still in contact. They texted me the other day joking around, how's the weather up there? Which I responded, ... nice. Invite me down whenever you want. But, so we also visited this wolf park where I think it was like a 7-acre lot. Many of these wolves, and we got to stand there outside, and this was the night that it snowed. We got like a ½ inch to an inch of snow. It was freezing cold out there, and we were all standing huddled up on the bleachers. But it was amazing to see them bring up these wolves, and usually you picture a wolf, around here you don't want to go around them because, whether due to like stereotypically you're afraid that they're going to like attack you or something, but these wolves came right up to them like they were dogs, and they were able to pet them, and it was just amazing to see how trained they have them. And the main point of having them there in that 7-acre lot was to just do like studies based on their behaviors, and studies based on like how those ancient behaviors in wolves, you can still kind of see them in dogs, and then same thing with the wolves, just to get a sense of how they are in their own natural habitat.
Right.
And they also brought us inside, and a lot of people were asking questions like, how do you get them so tame, and how have you ever had like any incidents? And they were saying that so the wolves that they had there, they started them up just as like, young pups really. And they just kind of trained them up from there. But they were explaining how they had to be careful, in a sense, not to treat them as such like a dog, where you're always on top of them, you're always playing with them, cuddling them, because then that takes away from their natural behaviors. Yes, instinctively, those behaviors are still there, but they don't become as present. So they were explaining to us they had a very methodical way of training these animals. So that way they'd still exhibit those natural behaviors, but they could still go up to them, be able to pet them, and not have any incidents. I think we asked the one guy there, he'd been working there for 20 to 30 years, and he said he's only ever had one incident where an animal actually bit them, but it wasn't like a severe jaw attack. It was just he was playing around with them, messing around, and it was just the animal got a little rough back. But it wasn't in the sense that they were endangering him. And it was just really interesting to see how they work together with these animals and study on their behaviors.
Wow.
Not only that, my favorite experience going there was getting to see a former student from Walton Central School, Claire Loker. She got her American degree, which was the highest degree you can get. Seeing her walk across the stage and getting that was pretty cool because I want to be able to do that when I get older. So that was pretty cool. And then we ended our trip with going to the Indianapolis Zoo, which is really huge and a lot of walking.
There was a lot of cool wild animals. We got to see a dolphin show. Yeah, that's
Oh,
It was
wow.
pretty cool.
Very
And then-
nice.
In addition to the sessions that we did in the Lucas Oil Stadium, they also had an exposition center where they brought in many different companies and corporations that are ag associated. And that the exposition center itself was so huge that I myself took a whole day just to walk around and just, kind of stroll around. I got a chance to meet my uncle who lives up north. Him and I walked around and we visited these different booths with different they had different activities to help you learn about like what their corporations are about. They had a bunch of free handouts, which were nice. I think I came back with like 3 bags worth of pens and pencils, so I'm set for the rest of the school year. But it was just nice being able to walk around and get a sense of all these different organizations, where all the opportunities are, and where you can really find a future in agriculture through the FFA. And it's important that we, as members of the FFA, kind of establish our goals and establish, why FFA is important to us, because a lot of the people that I was talking to at the exposition center said that they will specifically look for FFA in a person's background because they know of the goals and the lessons that are learned from FFA. And they say that many of the people who come through the FFA program as well tend to be more, organized, tend to be more like better workers in a sense, And then it was just, they had many different workshops there in addition to this exposition center. Workshops where you can go in and learn about different leadership skills, where you can learn different specific trades in the FFA, that you can go through FFA and then get a career out of. And attending these workshops was a good experience as well. They had many handouts and packets, and it was just nice hands-on learning to be able to go in there with many different kids. We all sat at different tables, and there were kids from different states as well that we got to associate with. And it was just a nice experience to be able to, look in a sense of the backgrounds of these kids, where they come from, and how we can all find like a common theme to talk about,
Now, what grade are you in?
I was senior this
You're
year.
senior, junior. And do you know what you want to do when you graduate?
So I submitted my application to Cornell, and I want to go for a major in animal science and a minor in ag business. And I'm hoping that with that I can go work at a Cornell Cooperative Extension in some sort of way, or be able to go to maybe a larger corporation and maybe manage, either somewhere's in management or marketing or sales. And I got talking with a bunch of the different organizations there, and like I said, they look at FFA. No matter what education you got, if they see FFA in your background, that is a red flag for them as, hey, this kid, he has all the different goals and necessities, and we know that he's learned many lessons through the FFA, and it greatly helps when you're choosing a career and getting a job.
Right.
I want to continue my CDA at BOCES and work with special needs little children.
Nice. What about you, Bryn?
I think I want to go somewhere in the agricultural area. I'm not totally sure. I've got more time to think about it since I'm a junior, but I think that's where I'm going to head.
Very nice.
For Board Recognition Week, you guys provided us T-shirts, and we thank you for that.
Yes.
I want to wear mine
Thank you
often,
very
so
much.
that was very nice of you to provide those to us. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, you're very gifted public speakers. You may not know that, but you're confident in what you're discussing, and that, that is good. But yeah.
And passionate,
gifted.
so
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Very nice.
Don't forget your laptop.
Okay, are there any additions to the agenda?
We may possibly have a resolution to ratify the WTA contract through June 2021, but that would be after executive session if you decide to do that.
Okay.
And I would just like to draw your attention that in your folders you have the BOCES 2021 service guide, and that's in preparation in a couple of months for voting on the unit cost methodology.
Okay.
I have one under new business. I'm going to bring the final vote for the indoor winter track. I'd like to propose that under new business. We have our full board. We have the final numbers. It is a painful process when you're talking about student body. And it's supposed to be painful, I guess, if they're denied. But I want us to give us one last look. We have everybody here. I'm not going to bring it up again after this month, but I will definitely entertain it tonight and put it on the board for the final vote under new business.
9G. All right, we have the consent agenda. We have the financial reports, and Meg, thank you so much for getting back to me on those. We have the transfer of funds, the declared surplus. We have personnel appointments. This is for the grade chairs, department chair coach, varsity club advisors, Parker Curley and Leah Campbell. We have personnel resignation. This is a resignation from one position, Billy Joe Klein as part-time school monitor. And that is it. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
And wait, her appointment is teacher aide though, right?
Under new business.
Oh, sorry,
Right.
sorry.
Yep. Yeah, what number is that one
Oh,
before?
well, it says contingent upon, so, okay,
Yep.
got it.
Do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're up to 9 new business. We have a couple of donations. The first one, the forthcoming donation from the United Presbyterian Church Peace Offering in the amount of $158.75 to the anti-bullying program at Townsend Elementary School. And then we have $7,000 from Frank and Kathy Wood to the James and Jacqueline Wood Memorial Awards. Do we have a motion to accept those donations?
Motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And we have the approval of the tax collector's report. Are there any questions on that? If not, do we have a motion to accept the collector's report as submitted?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And next, we have the approval of the budget calendar for the 2021 budget. If that looks all right to everyone, do we have a motion to accept that?
Move it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then we have 9D. This is authorization consultant service agreement. Do you want to give a little history on this?
It's an agreement that we've done over the last couple of years with Bassett Hospital, and we send kids over there. They provide some educational services primarily to us, and we coordinate back and forth with respect to our curriculum and our communities initiative. And there is a stipend that is paid by them to a staff member. It's a small stipend, but it's our relationship with Bassett Hospital.
All right. Do we have a motion to accept the service agreement?
Make it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And they pay the stipend, by the way. I just wanted to be clear on that.
Yep. 9E, we have authorization flood mitigation grant application. This is for the Catskill Watershed Corporation through the Flood Hazard Mitigation Implementation Program at an estimated cost of $1,136,890. And of course, this is for the Townsend Elementary School dry flood proofing project. So do we have a motion to approve that grant application?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, 9F, we have the Billy Joan Klein resignation from the one position. This is for the appointment of teacher aide. This is a full-time teacher aide position. Do we have a motion to accept that?
Make it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, 9G, we had, for the new business, we had a motion to approve indoor track. Is there a second? There is no second. Oh, there's no vote. Okay. We are up to 10.
Nobody seconded?
Nobody seconded.
Why?
Do we have, policy update? This is the policy for first reading. And do you want to read those?
Before I read the policies, I just want to thank our administration team. I want to thank Larry and all those who have been involved with putting together the policies. This was a process we started last year after, having some policies, and we actually had policies for so long that they had expired in the meantime. So anyway, thank you all for your contributions to this. Thank you, Larry. And Corey. 9,000 policy goals, 9120 extracurricular personnel code of ethics, 9120.1 conflict of interest, 9140.1 staff complaints and grievances, 9150 staff student relations, 9170 meals and refreshments, 9240 recruiting and hiring, 9260 emergency appointment dash student safety, 9320 drug-free workplace, 9350 staff request for accommodations under Americans with Disabilities Act as amended, 9420 evaluation of staff, 9500 compensation and benefits, 9520.2 family and medical leave, 9620 child abuse in educational setting, 9620-E.1 child abuse in educational setting exhibit, confidential report of allegation, 9620-E.2 child abuse in an educational setting exhibit, notice and reporting requirements, 9645 disclosure of wrongful conduct, whistleblower policy, 9700 staff development.
All right, so this will be motion to adopt these as our first reading for the 9,000 series. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, we are up to administrative remarks.
We have the 8,000 to adopt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Skipped right over
But
that.
do I have to read them? You gave me a list, but we don't usually read them.
That's fine.
The second.
I mean, you want me
You're
to?
the short straw.
You want me to? Yeah, Graydon was able to delegate a whole lot, being our sole representative of the committee last time.
All right.
No, we haven't.
Right, so this is the.
I don't want to break with precedent.
So, a motion to adopt the 8,000s as the second reading.
I'll move it.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, now we're up to administrative.
Let's start at the far end with Meg and work our way back to Ryan.
I think we've touched on most of the things that have been going on in the business office, the long-range financial plan, the budget calendar, and we finished up tax collection and turned the days over to the county. So beyond that, I don't have anything to say.
I've just got to let you know that professional development is still going on. We have Dr. Gretchen Oliver, finishing up with grade 8 tomorrow on Understanding by Design. This is a method of classroom pedagogy which helps teachers to kind of frees teachers up from doing all the talking in the classroom and puts the onus on children and having discussions and
the ability to express ideas, which we think is very important, and it's part of the skills that it's one of the skills that students will need for next generation standards, which are coming in pretty soon. So pleased to say that now all the high school teachers have been through this training, and grade 8 and the final grade in the middle school to go through this training tomorrow. Principals have been through the training in the summer, so that I think everybody is certainly raised awareness for teaching methods in the classroom. So it's up to the principals and I now to kind of help and support the teachers as they move forward with this initiative. So that Dr. Laurie Strong is still working hard with letters training with the kindergarten through grade 2 teachers, and we also have teachers going out doing letters training at BOCES, so that's still ongoing. So we're still pushing away with supporting teachers with new methods and research-based practices in the classrooms.
Nice, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. The past couple of days at the high school, the afternoons have been reserved for parent-teacher conferences. It's a great time for our teachers to engage parents and for everyone to be on the same page and just communicate face-to-face. We had a lot of teachers that were able to meet with parents and express concerns and everything. So it was nice seeing a lot of community members, parents come into the building for that. We had the Delaware County mental health professional start today, Erica Miller. We had a great meeting with the administration, the school counselors, where we set up kind of some guidelines and procedures to how things would take place, and we showed around the building. It was a great start. At the end of this week, I will be done with my first round of formal observations, and I know that was something where last year it lagged quite a bit. And I know that we talk about trying to be as timely as possible with those, so we feel pretty good about the schedule that we're all on. Winter sports started this week, so that's exciting, and I know that I'll see some of you in the gym as those events come in the next few weeks. And the weekend before, our speech and debate team actually hosted a tournament here, and they won. So Ellen Neri, if you see her, she's our speech and debate coach, so congratulate her. They did a fine job. There were all different types of performances. And I believe our categories were only for speech. We didn't have any debate members, but it's a great opportunity to see our students succeed in something like that. So many schools. And that's about it.
And there was a very nice write-up in the Daily Star with you and Adam's comments. That was very nice.
I think a couple of articles, Daily Star, and I think the Reporter did one too.
Yeah.
So.
Very good.
So obviously end of first quarter for all of us. We had parent-teacher conferences the last 2 half days with a really nice turnout. Big turnout, pages filled with sign-in sheets, so it's always good. I wanted to recognize, I'm not sure if all of you have heard about it, Barb Geidel, Teresa Bolton, and Lori Kucheroy were recognized at the Youth Awards dinner for Outstanding Youth Worker Award. And they, just being able to see them being in the building in my position, they absolutely deserve it. They're veteran teachers who go above and beyond all the time. And an example of that is for the veterans panel that we did just right around Veterans Day time, and had veterans come in, and they created this really awesome thing in the cafeteria with the kids, asking them questions. Teresa Bolton had them prepare patriotic songs and sang the songs. We even had one of the gym classes doing boot camp the same day, which is really cool collaboration, and the classes all worked on specific projects that all aligned to this culminating activity. So it's the first time they did it, and it just came together really great. It was awesome.
And you're right, it was very deserving for the 3 of them.
Yeah. We also recently had our Thanksgiving Day feast, which some of you attended. Second grade team just does a really great job with that every year and put their heart and soul into it, and it came out really great again. I want to recognize Carolyn Dutcher. She's doing a training for us tomorrow on conscious discipline, which is really a trauma-informed discipline practice that's really a social, emotional, related learning piece for teachers on how to increase relationships and strategies to use to keep it at the very important level of, instead of, the whole discipline punishment versus learning and nurturing and
Understanding,
understanding, and that, simple thing of saying, what's wrong, what do you need, all those pieces. And our teachers do a really good job at it, but these are just some really great little examples that she's going to provide to them. And that's all I have.
Guess you didn't hear, it's the end of the first quarter.
I know.
We also had a parent-teacher conference, had pretty good turnout, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. It's a good opportunity, as Artie and Amanda said, to get the parents and teachers face-to-face and, discuss the good things that are happening and discuss any types of concerns. Mr. Ashlaw covered for me for the PTSA Halloween dance. Maybe he can talk a little more details about it, but the PTSA sponsored a Halloween dance. I think it was November 1st, was that Friday night? Had a really good turnout, and the kids had a lot of fun. This is the second dance, middle school dance they sponsored. They did I guess it was a semi-formal, is how they worded it last year, and that was also very successful. We're working, we put together a committee in the middle school with teachers and staff members who are interested in discussing the possibility of a makerspace. Really goes along with the whole idea of STEM and project-based learning. It's more or less a room where kids can go and there's supplies in there for them to really work as a team or individually to create something to kind of solve a problem. So we're looking at ways to do that, and of course, a big piece of that is coming up with a the needs for a budget. So we're hoping to get that so we can have something to work forward. And ideally, this is probably a 3 to 5 year kind of project to get it fully in place. But there's a lot of excitement in the middle school with staff members wanting to get involved, and I think STEM is very important, and it's kind of the way to get our kids ready for the future.
Now, is this along the lines of what Mrs. Lewis had touched on when we went to conference, that it kind of incorporates all the other classes into the problem solving? Yeah. Nice.
Culminating project.
Very nice.
To go along with that, I started to reach out to some local businesses that are involved in kind of the STEM space and see what type of partnerships we can start working with them to see what we can do to help them in the future and what they can do to kind of help us. So I'm excited about that. Our 7th graders went on a field trip to the Iroquois Museum. Other than it being kind of cold the day they went, they had a great time. They did some hands-on things. Mr. Burnsworth, our 7th grade social studies teacher, helped organize that, and I guess that was last Friday. It seems like it was much longer ago than that. Other than that, that's about it.
As Mr. Luger mentioned, the Halloween dance went off very well. It's my first middle school dance since middle school, so it was interesting. Now I can't remember. But they did the Parent-Teachers Association. They did a great job. It was awesome decorations, and there were tons of kids. They had a blast from what I saw. The online referrals that we introduced this year for the high school have been going well. Teachers are getting used to them. They're making things a lot easier. And I had my first time over in the elementary school a few weeks ago. As I told Mr. Thomas when I got back, I've never really been one to use the term kiddos, but it took me about 3 seconds while I was over there until I started saying, "Hey, where are the kiddos?" So it was and she had always said that. I was like, I could never get used to that. And then immediately when I walked in there. But that was a really good experience. With the kiddos, so a little bit different, but another one to add on to all the experiences that I've gotten the first couple months. So
nice.
So part of Ryan going down there is we do try to cover for each other, and even though we have our expertise, we have our place that we are experts in, we do want to be able to step in if somebody needs some assistance. And so that's part of that, and this team, this family, whatever you want to call it, is working on all of that. We continue to have monthly leadership meetings with the entire leadership group, and that includes our department heads, such as transportation and O&M and food service and those areas. We meet for about an hour and a half. We do roundtable discussion. There really is no agenda. The agenda is what do you got going and what do you want to ask about, and the whole objective is to try to make sure that we're all staying on the same page all the time. And the agenda is organic, pretty much. It pretty much develops itself. I may have one or two things to talk about, but and I always have something to say, as these guys will tell you. But I don't necessarily lead that agenda or make it up ahead of time. After that group, those department leaders leave. And then we usually have something that may be a little bit different with respect to our educational program, and we do the same thing. So we do that once a month. In addition to that, every week this group meets with me we have what we call a mentor meeting, and me being the mentor, and we go through things. Jane participates in that and has a lot to share with respect to experience and asking questions about how where we're going from an academic standpoint, a program standpoint. With that said, even though you might think that or some people might think that when there's a half day of school and the teachers are working with parents or waiting for parents to come in, that these guys are idle. And nothing could be farther from the truth. Yesterday, I know that they were taking care of some things to get caught up with the world. But today, this afternoon, we all met again under Jane's leadership in the conference room to do a recap of some of the things that we had talked about when we were on our retreat during the summer. What were some of the goals? What were some of our impressions of what it was going to be like being in charge of a building to start the school year? What were some of the things that, given the experience that we have, what do we think might be accomplished this year? And that was in August, or July, sorry, it was in July. And then, now we're in November, and reality we think is probably sunk in. And so it was an opportunity for them to compare, where they were at that point and where are they now, and which also leads us to, okay, where are you going? And one of the things that we have talked about in some meetings is to think about, we talk about a 3-year plan, 5-year plan financially for the district. We should also be having a grand strategy or some sort of a plan looking forward with respect to our academic program and our educational experience. And I've challenged these folks to think about their building and where they see it being in 3 years or 5 years, as the case may be. Adam has hinted to you where he may be headed, and maybe the other folks will share some information a little bit later on this year, because I didn't ask them to have it ready for tonight necessarily. But it is something that we're always trying to look forward. We're all trying to take stock of where we are and see what we have as far as resources for now, and think about how we can bring those things to bear, if not right now, then a little bit down the road, to bring some visions to fruition. And they're not my visions. They're real. I mean, I advise, I talk to them about possibilities. I try to, I ask them questions about, have you thought about this and that sort of thing. But these folks are the ones who are in the trenches. They've been here. I think they have a good sense of some of the places where we could be. And so that's some of the activities that take place behind the scenes as we, at the same time, try to manage the days and manage the weeks and manage the staff and manage the students and all those sorts of things. While they're doing that, and typically after school, regular school hours, I've been trying to make some contact with the community with respect to the coffee clatches. I've had limited success, but I can't say it's been a total failure, and I'm going to continue to do it throughout the school year, come what may. So I've been doing that. Our shared decision-making committee is up and running. We actually have a meeting on Thursday, and a couple of you, I think, are figuring into the agenda a little bit with some pieces that we identified as a group last time as some things that we wanted to talk about at this coming meeting. That group is a combination of instructional staff, administration, parents. Honestly, we should have a student on the committee, but that's been very difficult for us to get into. But that's not to say that we won't before the year is out, but it's been difficult for us to accomplish. We've also started a second year with the WTA, with the Educational Policy Committee, which is a contractual committee to talk about professional issues and pedagogical issues. So, some educational theory and program where maybe we might vision going over the next couple of years. These folks are invited to those. They don't. I don't require them to be there, but they do come, and they come and they sit and they get to hear from another different group as to some other perspectives. So it's all of that has been a lot of fun, and we've been able to do that because I believe we have a quality team. They know what they're doing. They know what they need to know, and they also know what they don't know. So we're working on some of those things. But with that and negotiations put behind us as a school district, and having a staff in place, we're able to concentrate on some of those things this year, and that's what we're trying to do. I just want to bring a couple other things to attention of the group. It was brought to my attention by our tech coordinator today that we have a couple board meetings that may be scheduled on the same night when we have some basketball games, some home basketball games here. And because of the way our technology is, we have to make a choice as to what's going live stream. So I just want you to know that the basketball game is going to be live streamed.
I voted for you to be live streamed and it was overruled.
He's a liar.
Yeah, I know, the board meeting over the video.
He's looking at we can see it. So it's not to say that this meeting won't be taped. This meeting will be taped, but it just won't run live, okay? So we will have it up on the site, just we can't do both at the same time, and we're going for the game at this point, okay? Just so you know. I don't, is it like 3 times during the season?
Actually, it's 2 different events. I thought the quad was when the boys and girls shared gyms.
Yeah.
I thought that was a conflict, but we'll just do the varsity games.
All right, so it's 2 times that we know about, and,
And Rick, I'm sorry I don't know this, but what's the turnaround time to get a meeting recorded, then up on the website and archived?
Previously, it was about anywhere from a week to 3 weeks, depending on what was going on here. Now it'll be instantaneous. It'll be an hour later.
Okay, so it won't push anybody back, so they can watch it after the game.
That's what I would do.
There
All right. Binge watch. WCSA.
There was going to be a quiz, Rick. The good news is that WTA met yesterday for a ratification vote on their contract. Remember that we actually did settle the contract in June before we left for the summer, and we came back. We had a couple conceptual items to refine and make sure that we agreed on some of the wording. We didn't negotiate anything since June. Everything has been decided. It's just, did we get the tweaking of the word right? Do we agree as far as the way some numbers present and that sort of thing? And we've been working on that together, and all of that has been fine. So I'm happy to report to you that WTA ratified the collective bargain agreement last night at a vote of 83 ayes and 5 noes. So it was a good vote for us, and I would like to go into executive session to talk about negotiations issue. Perhaps, as Corey said, with the notion of coming out, hopefully, if you're ready to vote for that contract. I also have a personnel issue, a specific personnel issue that I need to speak with you about in executive session. The last thing I want to mention, though, before we do go into executive session is with regard to the other contracts, RESPA contract, Patty Wood and I went through face-to-face today. We've done some conversation back and forth on the phone, sent some stuff to each other, that sort of thing. She and I met and we went through the language. We found two very, very, very small editorial errors that we both agree on that are an error and how to fix them. So we are having that piece corrected and printed, but it doesn't impact that contract. And my hope is to be able to, I mean, it doesn't substantially impact that contract, but it's my hope to have those corrections back next week, and we'll be able to start handing that out to folks so that they'll have that. Transportation, I received the transportation contract in its final form today. I'm not in district tomorrow, so I'm going to probably take Thursday and Friday to do a review on that and try to make sure that we're okay there. And if that works, with transportation, we'll be handing that out shortly as well. So those things will be in people's hands, hopefully in short order. With the exception of the WTA contract, because it will be after ratification, and then we have to go to the printer. So, but the others are back. So that's all from me, and I would request an executive session.
Okay, so do we have a motion for an executive session for a matter relating to a particular employee and contractual negotiations?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.